been given the green light. A very good morning to us all. A very good morning.
Good morning.
I know it's raining and we are cold, but pardon us. Let's be very active this morning. Do you agree to that?
Yes.
Thank you so much. I'm a Christian, and I know a lot of us here are Christians, so believe in some one way or the other. So permit me to allow one of us to say a word of prayer before we start. Are you ready? Let me invite you to help us do that. Forgive me, but let me invite you to help us do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bright. Shall we close our eyes for prayer? Father, we thank you for bringing everybody here, for having a safe journey back to Moot Court. We're also grateful for walking with us, for being with us throughout the GIMPA and Arts Culture Exhibition and its activities. Today we are asking for understanding, for insight, for collaboration, and to hear the stories of these amazing panelists. May we take with us the insight and wisdom and advice they're going to give us so that GIMPA too can also work on its evolution of dreams. We're asking that you also help our law students that are here, our lecturers, our deans, so they would also take some with them to make an impact in their schools. We cannot do anything without you. So we are asking that you join us in this conversation so it is productive, it is meaningful, and it's the right kind of conversation we can have in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Maybe it's time for the offertory. Oh. Anyways, thank you so much for coming here this morning. So my name is Wright. I am a news anchor at Metro TV. I'm also a presenter and a producer at Metro TV as well. And I'm also now serving as a chief of operations for Wish for Life Foundation. It's a multinational company building a $250 million US cancer facility somewhere in Chibiasikim. It's all part of innovation technology. And so I'm happy to join here this morning to do this with this amazing panelists here who have lined up. And hopefully, a couple of them will be joining us on Zoom when their time is due. So permit me to introduce my guest to you this morning. But before that, one of the networks, mobile networks, say that the future is exciting, ready. And I believe we are all ready for that. I'm told that the future is embodied with dreams, innovation, and transformation. The reason why we are here this morning for a conversation. And so we hope that after this today, we'll be going home with something nice. You know, maybe I might want to do it after that. You never know. just say it. So my guest or my panelist here this morning, let me begin with, you say ladies first. I'm not breaking any protocol. So ladies first, always. Esther Caesar is eco-sustainable living expert. Quite interesting. Now let's explain to us what that is. What do you do? I was writing an article for a UN blog called the African Renewal. That's for the UN website focusing on African stories, especially technology and innovation. And they'll tell you, please don't bring me a story on a man. Bring me a story on a woman in technology. That is biased, but I can't compete on that. And also, we have here Dr. Bobel, who is a scientist and a consultant who is now in agric business. And I'll find out why he chose to go into agric. Maybe small and small innovation. So we find out from him as well. And also, Richard Enim is the CEO of Coral Reef Innovation Hub, Ghana. Thank you so much for coming, sir. We are grateful. And yes, somebody I've loved from the 70s and the 60s. I'm lying, don't mind me. Nana Asase. He is one of Ghana's most celebrated and loved, performers when it comes to poetry. I mean, how can you listen to him before sleep? It doesn't work like that. There are times you go for events and you are sleepy and he takes the mic and the commanding voice and the whatever he's saying keeps you awake. So thank you so much for coming here. And also we have Desmond Israel writes, Mr. Desmond Israel, who came from the GIMPA School of Law. I will apply, so please, Fala. Why? Thank you so much. So let's begin today. I would love for all of you here to mention your names to me and tell me where you're coming from, what exactly brought you here this morning. But before that, I'm also told that we'll be having Michael Dankwa, who is a mechanical engineer with a BSc from Ashasi University, specializing in product design, robotics, and electronics. Interesting one there. Interesting one there. So yes, thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Michael, wherever you are. No, thank you so much for joining us. And all our participants online, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, whether on TikTok, wherever you are, thank you so much for joining us here this morning. And please stay with us until we say our last prayer and leave here. Thank you. Let me begin with you. I told you I'll come back to you. They say, lady, you'll be the first person. So Esther Caesar here is with Eco Sustainable Living, and he's an expert in that. What exactly does it mean? I mean, right now we are seeing young people, especially women, go into such area. Why are you doing that? Please help us use this mics. Right. There we go.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Yes. Why are we going into eco-sustainable living as women?
Yes.
While growing up, I saw so much litter. In fact, litter that was dangerously bad for our health. And so that gave me the opportunity to pick up along the lines where they fell and make sure I do not make those mistakes. One thing I realized that was so dominant in our society, which I specifically decided to be a forerunner for, was women falling back in the lines of production, innovation, creativity in particular. I am an artist, even by birth. I have schooled and put a few things together, but then I realized women were not really encouraged in art. I work with passion. No one stops me from the project I want to do. I can dirty myself, but I bring out the treasure for you. So then, why should others feel ashamed? Actually, even men felt ashamed of it. But then the men were still way ahead of us. And then I realized, no, I will not keep quiet. I will make sure I fish every woman in every hole that I know has the passion to build, to create first, to build. If you can create and you cannot build, I can do that. We can partner. Do something. At least I can begin the beginning of the production to the end. Wherever you fit in, I cannot do all. I believe in uniqueness. Unique Abstractions is the company name. And we say unique abstractions because every woman is unique. Growing up, I didn't believe in competitions because I believed everyone was unique. Because what you create is really not like this one's, never like that one's, never like that one's. But all of them coming together really build something profitable and functional for society. And we look at society in the whole. So then our cause, we don't exempt men, really. There are men working with us. But then our cause is to make sure that creativity, together with through innovation, will really build something worthwhile. And since I believe in sustainability, we has to do with making sure that whatever we produce is reproduced, not coming back to hurt us, to harm us. That is very essential. So then I branched, adding sustainability with art. That is simply innovation. Simply, because innovation is the birth of both put together. That alone can really push a nation. And we cannot do it without women. Women definitely, we mold the home and all that. So then our main aim is to make sure that we do not leave women back. We are actually going to be the forerunners of sustainability. If they say we sustain, where do we fall in that when it comes to development? So it's ours to give life through sustenance.
And how dare we men say that we are working with our women? How dare we say that? You can't even say that. Dr. Thomas Wobel, now you are a scientist and you've diverted into agro-business or agribusiness. First of all, your time as a scientist, when you went fully into agribusiness, share with me some of your experiences.
Thank you and good morning, everybody. Yes, it's even though agric is a science, transitioning from initially I really wanted to be a medical doctor, and as I discovered myself, knowing my strengths, my weaknesses, my interests, and my passion, I studied science up to sixth form and diverted into, I wanted to now move into engineering. The only thing that fascinated me about medical science was neurosurgery. So I wanted to be a neurosurgeon. But then I discovered myself through my social advancement, spiritual growth, getting myself into interacting with people. Then I decided that I wanted to do engineering. But then the only thing also that fascinated me about engineering is about airplanes. I didn't want to do any of those other ones. I just wanted to be an airplane engineer. And so, and that, at our time, it wasn't in Ghana. You have to go outside to do it. Now, if you have a dream, no, I'll save it for later.
You get that.
So somehow the course was not available in Ghana. I couldn't go out. So I realized that I could do mathematics. I was very good in mathematics from my ABC time. And so I did mathematics and added statistics to it. Then I went to do national service after university to teach, and discovered another side of me that I did not really have grasp on, and that was mentoring, coaching, and training. Growing up, because of some of my experiences, which may come up in this discussion, I became a quiet person. I like to think more than talk. And so when I was going to teach, it was like, wow, how am I going to speak to all these students? And this was a secondary school. You know how these students can drag you here and there. I found myself there, and it brought me out of my shell. I had to now interact with students, teaching, counseling, grooming. I was like the student pastor, even in the scripture union. And so I developed that interest of imparting into people's lives, to see the joy that lights up in their face when you have coached them or trained them or raised them to a level where they discover themselves. You see them bouncing back into life. Then I moved on into development work, which is a transition from the same kind of teaching, but then we are not restricted by syllabus and school rules. We are in the development world. We've gone into the community. We are now engaging people. So their aims are not just to pass exams, but to succeed in life, to make it, to survive. And I found myself having that passion. That also coupled with being a Christian, doing evangelism in the communities and getting people to really give their life to Christ, to live again. As part of the NGO work, agriculture was key. There was the direct farming, there was the village banking, there was other sides of agriculture. So I started now getting to know the agribusiness, the processing, and all of that. I got myself interested in that. Then it moved me to a pure research institution that does agricultural research. In fact, when you enter that institution and you are not told that this is agriculture, you think you're in a medical hospital. You see the scientists wearing the white, and there is nothing agric about that place. You see the test tubes and the beakers and all the things, the microorganisms that you are working on with their microscopes, and like, wow, is this agriculture? So it's kind of quickened up my science background in me. I was there for about 4 years. Then, rediscovering myself, I realized that I needed to get out there. So I retired early. I left the job 2017 and came back to Ghana. And somehow I found myself being a consultant, management consultant in many areas. Then I was recruited into the Ministry of Agriculture. I came now to another phase of agriculture. And then I myself started also practicing. In fact, I've been doing some in bits and pieces, but now I have a poultry farm that I'm working on. But then I'm also working as a management consultant, guiding the ministry to put up their programs and projects, setting up measurement criteria to be able to check whether they are doing well or not. This planting for food and jobs, bearing for food and jobs, how are we doing it, how are we going? And so that is how come I moved through, navigated my way, and I'm in agriculture. My passion and my dream evolves. And because I realize that I have multiple talents and multiple passions. So when I set myself to do it, I'm able to do it. So that is how I find myself here.
Did I hear you mention poetry?
Yes.
Yeah, we have 68 days to Christmas. So you never know. I might just come up here. Let me come to you. Now, Mr. Richard, you are somebody who will be helping Ghana's ecosystem when it comes to innovation. I mean, from your field, what you do as a person. You help young people, mentoring and all that. How has it been for you so far when you speak to young people, their minds?
Okay, so maybe a bit of background and transition to where I am now. One of those in my generation in the 90s who just left with Jakarta at the time to the UK. I was away for 15 years and studied, worked, started a business, all in that space of 15 years. So my background was in insurance and finance. I tell people that one of the hardest products to sell is insurance. And because of that, I can sell ice to an Eskimo. If the product moves or shifts, I can sell it. And that has actually been instrumental in my entrepreneurial journey. So I left corporate, I think in 2003. It's kind of interesting. As soon as I graduated, I never spent more than 18 months in a company. I thought I was looking for more money, but I think the call out in the world was you have to do your own thing. And my first business was an abysmal failure. I mean, if there were an Olympics in business failures, I'll probably win a platinum all the time. It was such a disaster that I stood back and clapped for myself. But it's talking about that in terms of the evolution of dreams, where you start from the kind of skill sets you need, the kind of mindset you need, resilience. How do you dig down after such a failure to move to your next level. I served in a church for 15 years. I ran a youth group. And in those types of environments, either voluntarily or involuntarily, you pick up some skills. And one of the best places to serve in church was presenting, preaching, teaching, advising, counseling. Those are skills you pick up in that environment. So yes, I ran a youth group, I ran a men's fellowship, I ran a business group, and so on. So all those units were preparing me for my entrepreneurial space. I taught in community colleges, I taught in a university, I taught entrepreneurship and strategy for several years. I actually taught here in GIMPA for one semester.
Can you clap for him?
I held,
Give it to him, please.
I think at the time, Elikem Kwenye ran an entrepreneurship course here. He was going to be out of town for a semester, and I stepped into, and I haven't been here since 2012. So hopefully there's an interesting reason to come back for my homecoming. But I've run all sorts of businesses. So the insurance catastrophe was one. I ran a consulting business. One of the interesting things that happened is that teaching in the University of Greenwich entrepreneurship strategy, I formed an alliance with my head of department, and we set up a strategy company, and that is what brought me back to Ghana after 15 years to work as an external advisor to Cocoa Board. At the time, they were looking at hitting 1 million tons. Not the depressive state in which Cocoa Board and Ghana Cocoa is now. But I worked with my team for 3 years with Cocoa Board, and we hit 1 million tons in 2011. So we like to think that we contributed in that feat. Since then, Ghana Cocoa Board hasn't hit 1 million tons. I set up another company. At the time in Ghana, there were challenges with LPG distribution. I mean, there were all sorts of shortages. So I set up a company with a partner to bring in LPG in barges. That was another disaster. We set up a pipeline 1 kilometer offshore. The engineers, massive cock-up. You can see all the pipes scrambling to descend the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. Yeah, that's a business that went bust with a few millions in debt and damages and so on. Then moved on to what I'm doing now, which is in education. And now we build hubs, we build AI labs, we build coding robotics hubs across Africa. How did I get in there? A simple conversation, a random conversation. And maybe one of the things you need to pay attention to is the kind of conversations you have, because there are always opportunities in conversations. A random conversation, annoying people at a dinner party that Ashimota is the worst school they could go to, because I went to St. Peter's. That kind of banter, somebody like, you're such an idiot. I mean, how can you say a thing like that? We out of that, we start exploring conversations, and says, look, we've got this, we've got youth in our community. They're hanging around GSS. And she said, what can you do with them? I was like, okay, let me test a model. I'm going to test a model with 60 students who will do entrepreneurship, coding, robotics, programming for a month. Let's test it and see. I think my investment was about 20,000 Ghana cedis then. We were in that town consistently for 4 weeks. But what we discovered is that when the kids come to when the students come to the center, they're fantastic and brilliant. By the time they come back the following week, they've forgotten everything. Why? Because they didn't have devices to practice at home. Yeah. And that's a bigger problem across not just Ghana, Africa, where students have access to devices at the center, but are not able to, because without practice, So at the time we reached out to government and were like, look, this is a problem that is around. Can we develop a program? So we developed something called a National Digital Literacy Project, and today we've deployed about 45,000 devices in 700 schools where we've trained 1,400 teachers. And impact, probably about 1 million students across the country by the end of this year. So that's really how I got into education. And now we're rolling out projects in South Africa, Nigeria, Eswatini, where we've just literally signed a project agreement with Access Bank that will follow the Access footprint in 17 countries, 17 or 19, whatever, countries across. So yes, for me, my biggest interest now is what kind of students are we churning out, and how is the student of this environment in the fourth industrial revolution? How do you curate students' purpose? How do they become relevant for the future of work? What sort of skills and attitudes will they need? If there are lawyers here, a robot passed the New York bar within 4 hours. Another robot passed the U.S. medical board exams in a number of hours, something that takes four years to complete. So what is the future of law? If any routine task that an algorithm can complete is being completed, what is going to happen to the future of jobs? And those are central questions. What does a GIMPA student of 2025, 2030 look like? What sort of support are you getting to be fit and relevant for? And that's really my keynote hasn't changed in 5 years. It's the same thing. Education has changed. The world has changed. It's changing at a much faster pace than we ever imagined. And how do we prepare students? How do we create skills to make them relevant for the future of work?
Right.
That's my mission.
Right. And I actually enjoyed the last statement you just made, how to create, students for the future. So you don't end up just living in the moment. And as I say, please don't tell me we're a politician. Don't tell me your career before now you were a politician, because I'm getting Prof told me, oh, he was in science and now he's going into science, agri, which is still science, but then agribusiness. I'm getting somebody tell me something else. And you are an art performer. Please, tell me you've been doing this since the 80s. Tell me something, please.
1964, I was a people teacher in St. Gregoire DC.
Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah, same time, same year my mother in this generation was born.
But you've been able to maintain a craft. When we speak of poetry in Ghana, or when we speak of spoken words in Ghana, you can't talk about that and take it out. I mean, we have big names out there, but now your name is part of the big names. How have you maintained that?
Amen.
How have you done that? How have you maintained that?
Okay. My name is now part of the big names.
Yes, I can say so.
I'm still relatively young. It means...
all the big names, so we are still learning.
Yeah. Okay, so it's been about 25 years practicing as a literary artist. But it's been 12 years full-time. For 12 years, this has been what I do. I spend my time playing a lot, playing children's games, reading children's books, but literally I'll read everything. So I've read this banner how many times over? I've read Magdan too many times over because it's still in front of me. I've read whatever it is that needs to be read too many times over. Little background, like everybody would say. So I grew up, I was not the most confident person you would meet. I wouldn't get selected to play soccer because I didn't have the skills. So you'd catch me in the library. So by class 3, I had met a lot of these Greek mythology characters. I had met a good number of them. I had met Kwekwan and say around that time. Yeah, I dare say I had met a lot of our Bible characters. I had met Muhammad, I had met a few of them by class 3, getting to class 4. By that I mean via the realm of books. Right. And my imagination is one of the things I fear the most. I can imagine anything. How the next room looks like 365 possible ways you could set it up without even going there. That is how I was as a child. So there were a lot of things I couldn't find language to describe. So I had these things growing up in my imagination. I grew up speaking Chi at home, studying Ekapim Chi in school, self-teaching Asante Chi with my grandfather's old Bible, where we write Yesu with a Y, but it has an I with 2 dots on it. That's the old Asante, Chi. I don't know how I understood it at that age, but I sort of just got it. Now, so reading was something I loved to do because I loved stories. Yeah. And I could literally hear the characters. Now I know what it is. How did poetry happen? Poetry happened around 99. Before that, my first public performance was around age 4. I see the moon, and the moon sees me. God bless the moon, and God bless me. A lion has a tail. Do we know it? Oh, Charlie, why are we pretending we don't know it? It has a big head. And a very small waist. But one of my favorite lines of poetry ever written. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Babangida together again. And then in 99, I moved from Koforidua to Cape Coast. Right. And at the time, Komla Dumos, God keep his soul, Komla's voice was the one you wanted to hear because Komla had this very deep-edged, and everybody was aspiring to have that kind of depth. That was when Fritz Bafo was running Sincerely Yours. It was a tourism, and Koforidua also was a very commanding one. Then the African Heritage Series started on GTV, run by my father, Professor Kofi Anido, at the time. I followed it a lot. I liked, because of the stories, the travel, I like all these things. I listened to Adedem growing up, watched the TNT classic movies by the fireside. I do not know why these things just drew me in. That's what it was. And because I didn't have the language to communicate a lot of things, I wasn't so confident. You'll find me in that little corner, consuming all the things that my contemporaries might not be interested in. Yeah. So, African Heritage Series, there's a particular episode he had with the late Professor Lee Mazrui. And they were in Benin, talking about this temple dedicated to some snake and rainbow god, which I've yet to visit, by the way. There was a line, I've told this story too many times before, but it's still worth telling for me. It's still fresh to me. Dahomey, the home of the serpent and of the rainbow. That was the line. I was like, Mommy, I'll meet this man. I don't know, I just felt somebody was calling me to something, I don't know. I was like, I want to meet this man. I love my African Writer Series, but every night, I'd wake up in the middle of the night, sit on my bed, Dahomey, the home of the serpent and of the... I ran this line more than how many millions of times in my head, because I wanted to have that depth of his voice. Now I know what it was. It was beyond the voice. It was a divine call to what I do now. That was how the journey of poetry started for me. Then my headmistress at the time comes to class, the late Margaret Hinson, God keep her soul, picks a couple of students, write a poem for me on books. I wrote that poem, and ever since then, I have not looked back. 1999, Montessori School, Cape Coast. There's a little voice that will dictate to you. When it's done, everything you add is no fun. And then I went on with that skill. So I realized that I had this place in my head where I could stay. All those imaginations I now have the language for. So there's, you see a nice lady, you think you like this person, you can't really voice it out. What do? Paper never betrays you. Always willing to receive all your ideas. And so I would think like a construction person. The page was that place where I could construct whatever idea I had. And then I kept going. Went to St. Augustine's College. Any Absunians here? Absolutely. Action Kote. Thank you very much.
He's a proud one.
Yeah.
The fist in the air.
St. Augustine's College, where we had to put our studies on hold and go finish the Second World War so that the rest of all of them, good.
We know how you talk. You are part of. Keep going.
Got to read literature in English. I actually went to Oga school for 2 reasons. One, to disprove that infant swim is the best school they have brothers. That's okay. And 2, to read literature in English. So if I wasn't going to be offered literature in English, I was not going to stay. So done with literature in English, fast forward, enter University of Ghana. And then I met the man. I was like, Mommy, I need to meet this man. All the while, I was still dahumeing in my sleep. I would wake up every time and still do that. And then I met him. And he got to read my work. And his course selected me. You don't choose his course. The course chooses you. Chose me and took me through that point. When I was almost done, my name is Philip Boachidi Auyinka. But when I gauged the Philip versus the kind of Afrocentric stuff I'm writing, it wasn't going to fly. I needed a good name that would hold, the weight of what I was writing. And then I remember that as a child, I had heard the family call me Nana Asase. I was wondering what it was. I later found out it was a cousin's corruption of Nana Boachi.
So, hold on, please. So Nana Asase, at the time, was an accident.
So it was a divine accident.
Divine accident. How you want to put it?
Now, so then the scripture came to me. It says the heaven is the Lord's and the earth is his footstool. Okay, then I'm that footstool bearer. I don't want to be
the one to confirm it.
No, that's all right. So that's his stool. This is footstool, which means that human beings are capable of managing the issues down here. Down here. And I was going to be the footstool bearer. That gave me the basis for Nana Asase. It had nothing to do with the whole Asase. So that is how I picked that name, Nana Asase. And I feel it served its purpose. It was actually divine. It simply tells me, every issue rises out of earth. Every issue would eventually fall on earth. No matter how high you go, if it be the rain, you're going to come down. I realized, I jumped out of my job. I was a PR person, fast forward, PR person, and then I reckoned, everybody wants their child to be a doctor and a lawyer. I'll be one later in my life, don't be offended. Pilot, everything else. But in our culture, because our fathers had conspired with nature to leave at the time when we least expect them to. And I was just telling my people before we started, when you spell do, we've already done DO, it's left with OM. You need people to stand in the gap so that in our time, and for the generation guinea pig. So I offered God 5 years of my life. I was like, look, if these 5 years do not pay, I will not put pen to paper in the name of poetry again.
I like that. Thank you so much.
It's been 12 years. And the best part is, I didn't know where I was going at the time. Kindly, I don't know where I'm going.
Change your thought process. So dreams are not static. Change your thought process. So dreams are not static. And that's why they evolve. It also means that your dreams are valid. And to that extent, you can let go one dream and dream another one. So at a point, I was dealing with clients, and I worked with one of, most of Ghana's very finest from the banks and all that. I attended an event yesterday for me to see some of these people after almost 6 years. Once I got to the bar, I wasn't seeing most of them. The point I'm making is, at a time, we were now beginning to see the issues around technology and law. We were only dealing with data breaches and computer hacks. That was the motivator then. Now we are discussing way more than that. And companies were pretty worried what's going to happen. We didn't even have our laws intact. Our Electronic Transactions Act was actually passed in 2005. So that should give you a precursor. And so I joined this team of lawyers who were dealing with cases, and they didn't understand the technology around it. So they'll call you up, what do you think happened? What are the real issues on the ground? And then I began to also appreciate what they were doing as lawyers. And that's when I really got another light bulb, you'd say the eureka moment, that, okay, I think I'll be good at doing this. So let me give it a shot. So to law school, it wasn't easy, because you have people who are coming from the political science background, the sociology background, because that's the tradition. And it really weighed on me, because there were things that were the basics, which I would not have to grapple with, because all I knew was technology, And that's how I got in there and got called to the bar. So current issues, if you study the law critically, then you would understand that there is the law in technology, and I have my students here, and the technology in the law. Yes. Now, technology gets into the law when we want to use technology to improve the practice of the law. So Richard's assessment is actually technology in the law. How do you catch up with it? How do you align? How do you remodule your skill? And even how the system itself adopts some of these things. And then the law in technology is how do we protect ourselves from the use of technology? Once upon a time, we could not prosecute people for cybercrime in this country, once upon a time, until we had to step in and pass laws that would govern how people use this technology. So that now, if your rights are infringed through technology, we can offer you some protection within the space of the law. Now, for tech in the law, I would be the first to say that not just from the legal realm, but we are a bit late. Yes. We are a bit late in the sense that there are remote hearings already happening. Case management is happening online. But we still have law firms that would require you to appear in the law firm in person for some of these hearings to be done, client briefing and the rest. Gen AI can be fused into many analytic platforms, and I think just yesterday I was discussing with the class how predictive decision support systems allow lawyers to determine which way the cases are going to go. Because these things are equally based on what lawyers would ordinarily do, which is that we will sit at the table, look at our case, the facts, decisions that have been made in the past, judges that are potentially going to sit on these cases, and the potential rulings that will come out of it, so that we can advise our clients which way to go in a certain matter. This is what we do as lawyers. Now, those are repetitive analytical tasks that artificial intelligence could do. So where does that leave you? Now, you would also realize that these are tools that you actually plug into your practice. Now, you get lost in that wilderness if you haven't prepared yourself to leverage on these tools. And that's why GIMPA is probably the first law school that is teaching law and tech at undergraduate level. And probably the first that created the program MSc in IT law that actually taught these courses at graduate school. And that's the first time I actually started teaching with GIMPA. This was in 2022, sorry. And that's when, we started doing, and then later I had Legon has also started, something along the line. Now, my experience in teaching, even at the School of Technology, on this very course was that we have people who understood what they were doing, but they also needed to bridge the legal requirements. So, for instance, we have an Electronic Transactions Act that provides certain level of consumer protection. Tell me what my refund policy is. Tell me what security you've put in place on your electronic platform. Tell me what your privacy policies are. Tell me how goods are going to be delivered to me. These are black letter law. Now, let's go on to e-commerce websites that you know of in Ghana, the Jumias, and the listing platforms like the Tonatons and the rest. Do a very quick audit and see how some of these portals have positioned themselves even in the face of the law. So there is always that marriage between technology and the law. And in wrapping up, I'll be the first to tell you that we don't regulate technology. It's never been the case. If that was the case, then even the Electronic Transactions Act, as we speak now, would have been obsolete. It's 16 years old. We regulate behavior and the outcomes of technology. And that is why the law technically is always late, because you need to assess where the technology is going so you can position yourself. So I totally agree with Richard on his point. If you're not going to catch up, or if you're not going to leverage, you're definitely going to miss out. Paralegals are already losing their jobs because you just need to tell a Gen AI what you want. Those legal draft letters, they would produce it for you. And I told my class, I'm a power user of Gen AI. So I'm not a regular user of it. I plug in way, and that's because I have a tech background. I plug in way beyond just type something into ChatGPT for it to give you response. So I'm the best person to tell you that I can sit in one office and do what 3 lawyers would have had to do, including the paralegal. Because once a paralegal even drafts a letter, it is still onto the lawyer by our ethical rules to assess that letter, because as it goes out in your name. So the liabilities that comes with it comes to you. It's the same drill, except that paralegal will no more be in the office, because now I can ask a robot to do the work and I'll still do the quality assurance, right? Where does it leave the paralegal? My answer is very simple. The paralegal should be in the position to use the technology.
And that is where enhancing your own capabilities and abilities come in.
Indeed.
You know. Thank you so much, Desmond. And this when a lecturer subtly tells you, don't let ChatGPT do assignment for you because I'm watching. Very, very subtle warning, but we can all hear that. Anyways, thank you so much. That they are who I believe just entered not too long. You might have missed out on the introduction of our panelists. So pardon me, Mr. Michael, I'll come to you. Pardon me. Let me just reintroduce our panel here for you, then we can continue. And so I'm here with Esther Caesar, who is into ecosystem living, is an expert in that. Dr. Thomas Walker, scientist and a consultant who is now into agric business, and Richard Enim, CEO of Coral Reef Innovation Hub, Ghana. Amazing work being done for Ghana education as well. And also Desmond Israel, GIMPA Law School. I shouldn't even tell you who he is. And also the man himself, Nana Asase. When it comes to arts, poetry and all that, his name cannot be missed. Let's now go on online and have a conversation with Michael Dankwa, who is a mechanical engineer with a BS from Ashasi University, specializing in product design, robotics, and electronics. Come on inside there.
Hello, everyone. Am I audible enough?
You are more than audible. we can,
and you can see me as well.
We could see you earlier, but not now.
Okay.
We believe after you are long, we see you.
Okay.
We can see you now.
Yeah. My name is Michael Donkwa. I'm currently the Makerspace coordinator at DTI. The term Makerspace seems like a new term around here in Ghana, and even in Africa, across Africa. But let me just give a brief about my background, where I grew up, and how I got into what I do. I could see, it's very obvious, that I'm the youngest on the panel. So I am actually not going to have as much to say as my other panelists. So it will be quite brief. Yeah, just like Mr. Enim, I also am a Pescobar. I went to St. Peter's. So it's nice to have an older senior on the team now, on the panel now. Yeah. St. Peter's is actually the best science school in Ghana. It is still the best science school in Ghana. And now that helps.
Question you as to if you know the difference in age.
Hello. Can you hear me, please?
Michael, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I have been asked.
I'm listening.
It's fine. Go on. Go on.
Okay, sure. Yeah, so I think growing up, I grew up with a TV. I grew up in Teshi, which is a Ghana community, and I wasn't a native Ghana. And I think even growing up in such a space where life was quite fast, and I found that my peers were quite rough sometimes. I think I grew up a bit soft, as they would term it. So I spent most of my time at home with the TV, consuming a lot of Western culture, right? So I watched a lot of cartoons. I watched a lot of movies about technology. And I was also exposed to comics. This was, I think, mid 2010s or the early 2000s, 2008. Mid times, yeah. So I got introduced to the Iron Man, the Thor, the Spider-Man, all those characters. And the fascinating thing about these characters were how the technology was crafted into the stories, right? To make it seem like it's something that could exist in our real world. So I had this, I would say, childlike dreams about the world and wanted to explore. Just like Dr. Wobio as well, I wanted to build aircrafts. So I started with paper airplanes, and I used to throw them around with a colleague, and wanted to explore how to build my own aircraft. So I think I read a couple of books. I sunk myself into the encyclopedia when I got to high school. I was mostly in the library. I actually used to skip class sometimes to spend time in the library reading the encyclopedia. And I read a lot about airplanes from there. And that's where I even had the first time hearing the term aeronautical engineering, right? So I knew that I could build planes if I were like determined, right? Even beating the odds from where I come, I could actually study and become an established aeronautical engineer. So I think I explored what options were there at the time, and Ghana didn't have a program like that. What we had was aerospace engineering, and I had heard stories, was just based on rumors. I think maybe I shouldn't have paid too much attention to that, but I heard that it wasn't as interesting. You wouldn't actually get to do a lot of the practicals that you would see in the other Western countries and all of that. So I was thinking, okay, why not start with mechanical engineering as a background, see what that has to offer, so use that as a foundation, and then like move on from there and explore aeronautical engineering. So Ashesi was also rolling out the the engineering program, and I joined. I was part of the first class, the first engineering class, and I got into the mechanical engineering program. And over there, that's when I think my dreams were starting to really shift from like the aeronautical engineering into a more of like a problem-solving dream, right? So now I consider myself as a solutions person, and I try to come up with solutions throughout like every aspect of my life, even in my personal relationships, right? I get to the problem, and the first thing I'm thinking about is how can it be solved. So and going through the Ashesi program really nurtured like my thoughts, and took a non-traditional approach to the teaching of engineering, right? So you are given a lot of like the liberal knowledge. We did Africana, we did social theory, foundations of entrepreneurship. So I grew up on that foundation as well, and that's even helped me in setting up my first company, right? So yeah, so from that point on, we also got like new technology coming in. The 3D printers, that was the first time I ever saw a 3D printer. And at the time, before then, we were using design software. So this software allowed you to be able to dream about a product that you wanted to create, and gives you all the tools you needed to implement it in a 3D world. So you're able to visualize, you're able to put different basic shapes that we learned from the JHS high school, and then create a product in its finished form, right? And the 3D printer would allow you to print it out. So if it's, let's say, a phone case, something as simple as a mobile phone case, you can design it yourself. If you want a custom mobile phone case, design it yourself and print it out. If you want a door handle, a custom looking door handle, design it and then print it out. And I was going through that whole process, and I would say it was a self-learning process for me for product design. I still self-learn. The product design space here in Ghana is almost non-existent, right? What we mostly have here is architectural design. It's an already established field, but product design is very, very fresh. And I would say, and I would like to advocate for more players to get in the field. Now the space is taken up by startups that are trying to coming up with new products. My startup as well is coming up with new products, and I think picking up the entrepreneurship skills at Ashesi helped me to be able to create a company that would bring on people that were like-minded to create products to solve the problems that we see around. Fast forward, I joined DTI, the Design and Technology Institute in East Legon, and this was somewhere in 2020, right when COVID had subsided a bit, and I helped set up the makerspace here at DTI. So the makerspace basically takes in learners that are very green. They are coming from high school mostly, and there are even some from tertiary that come in here. And besides the TVET program that we run here, we run what we call the enrichment program, and the makerspace helps to give the learners skills in product design, architectural draftsmanship, and they're able to create fascinating products. We have many examples that I think I'll get into on the other questions that will come as we discuss on the panel. So thank you so much for having me, and yeah, I'll leave it here.
Michael, thank you so much. Thank you so much. A lot has been done in your young age, like you say. Anyways, I've also been told that in as much as I'm moderating the program, I'm also supposed to share my background and all that. There's not much to say. Not much. I mean, back in secondary school, I didn't even know what I wanted to do. But then in my last year, that's when I wanted to be a journalist. But I didn't even know the school to apply to. So I called my cousin, who was at the time in Legon, Georgina, and I told her, Georgina, I want to be a journalist. But then I don't even know the school to apply to. And she tells me, oh, then go straight to GIG. That's okay, fine. Then I told my mother I want to be a journalist. She goes like, yeah, you want to be a what? A journalist? And she tells me, usually they will ask you to apply to about 2 or 3 schools. Whichever one that picks you, then you're just able to go. And I told them, I'm not going to waste money and apply to 3 or 4 schools. I know myself, I know how to be a journalist. So I'll just apply to GIG. I mean, I did. After university, after messages, I went and I was admitted in GIG, started schooling there. Just at the time, they had now launched the campus radio. So at the time where my colleagues are running back to their hostels and back home after lectures and they're in a hurry to go, I will sneak in there in the newsroom, you know, sit there and just be reading graphics, newspapers that have been displayed on the bench at the time. Then they asked me to produce a gentleman, a colleague of mine in the same class who was actually supposed to host the drive time. I was praying the guy gets sick. You know, I get to sit in sometime. And after 3 months, he got sick. And I was out sitting, you know. But then when he came back, my lecturer was like, I think you are good, but he's better. So I allowed him to continue on doing the drive time program on campus. And so I did. And God being so good, just when he was told, he also got a job at Vision 1 FM. So I didn't really feel bad, you know, on sitting him. I didn't really feel bad like that because he had gotten a good one that he was getting paid, even though he was in school. Now I'm on air sometime, and we had now started a master program on GIG campus. So the big guys who are already on radio, like the DJ Blacks, were in the cafeteria, where we had a very big speaker, and they were listening to us from the radio. Somebody opens the door and was I turn my head and DJ Black, and he goes like, hey, what do I get our voice? You know, I mean, saying that I look really tiny behind the console, but then my voice on the air, it's really huge, and he likes it. He tells me, call me and let's have a conversation. I called him and he invited me on the show, one of the shows in the evening. I went there and was like, I'm going to help you, blah, 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 blah. I'm on campus one of the times and I get a call from a TV station that you were recommended for a show. I'm like, okay, I was in level 200 at the time. You know, so I've come to believe that you shouldn't always wait. You don't know where opportunities are coming from. Like you mentioned, the opportunities in small conversations, all you have to do is just pay attention and listen. You know, imagine when he told me to call him and I was like, what am I calling him for? You know, and I refused calling him and I refused meeting up with him. It would have been a disaster. And all my life, I have never written an application letter before for any job before in my life. Never ever have I. I don't know how it happens, but then God has been so good. I always get recommended. And it has always happened for me like that. And so you guys are here. I mean, I think I'm still young. I'm not too old. He's claiming to be the youngest. I'm the youngest. So all I'm saying is that as you go out there, take opportunities. When you meet people, speak. Listen to them. Listen. Take advice and move on. Don't always be in your shell saying, "Oh, I'm waiting after school and I can write applications for jobs and all that." You might sit at home for 6 years. A gentleman just came to the office, Metro TV, for internship. He's been home for 5 years. 5 years after national service. He's not even getting to be admitted as an intern in any company. 5 years. So he came in as a volunteer. And he's just there. And I'm telling him, take opportunity. He says when they were on campus, they used to go to parties and all that. Hey, it's good to party. But once you party, take contacts. You don't know who you are partying with. And the contacts and whatever they have to give you. Through the recommendation, that person recommended me for the Wish for Life Foundation, where it's a multinational company. They are everywhere in the world. They are building their first project here in Ghana. And they are building a 250 million cancer facility for children in Africa. And it's going to be on insurance basis. But then there's more research, there's more technology, and I'm currently the operations officer. So I believe more in dedicating your time to listening, going to seminars. I've had a lot of certificates from the Chiwell Academy in Germany and all that. But sometimes you look at the certificate and look at the job and that's even match. Yeah. Whatever you were taught in school is so different from what you are doing on the field. Sure. You have to learn as you go, learn as you grow. They say learning never stops. So every single time in your life, you are learning. And I know for you going to be lawyers in future, you are going to read a lot. There are going to be new cases, a lot of things. I was to produce a lady called Franska Krafosen. And I thought she was doing LLB, wanting to be a lawyer and all that. As of now, she's been called to the bar. I mean, she went to the London School of Law and she's been called to the bar and all that. And during the 2020 elections, when the court case happened, we created a show on TV. And it was called The Law. So I have no law background, no legal background. And imagine producing a legal show. After every single proceeding at the courts, during the presidential, whatever it was, proceeding at the court, we bring these lawyers and these MPs to the studio, and they have to speak on legalities. And I'm sitting by the console at the VTR, and I'm learning, Googling every word they are writing or they are saying, just so I can understand what they are saying, and it helps me with my slagging on the screen and all that. So I believe as young as we are, and as we go on with our careers and all that, we don't stop learning. Learning at every single stage never ceases. As a lecturer, you always prepare for your notes, you're always learning. Like Mr. Richard says, he's been doing God knows how many things, and he's still doing new things, and he keeps learning. So he never stops. I believe when you got into agric, you didn't just say, I'm an agric, so I'm okay. You have to do your own research to know whatever the field is about. And so yes, are we going for a tea break, or we are going to still stay here until the next session? Please. They'll come in here. So if you're hungry, please hold on. You get hungry for a lot more. So for now, drink water and hold on. But we are going to continue the conversation. Thank you so much. I think you can drink water to cool down.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. And so if you also came in later and missed the first part of the conversation, I am Bright Nana Kwesi Menin. I'm a Metro TV, I'm a news anchor, I'm a producer and a presenter as well, and also serving as a operations officer for Wish for Life Foundation. Hopefully when the construction is done, children in Ghana and across Africa gets on hand, healing. It's not easy training in cancer. It's too much. And I'm told that, and my boss tells me, back in the days, they will cut you for service and all that, but now robots are able to do that. There's a doctor somewhere in Singapore, and all they need is the machine on you. And they'll be pressing on the computers and the operations are being done. And it's serious. She was in Ghana just about 2 days ago, and she tells me she went to California for a meeting, and almost all the taxis there, they don't have human drivers in the taxis. We used to watch this in movies. True. Now Tesla are having out there with cars without drivers, and they are taxis and all that. The Ubers we are taking here in Ghana, when they go to California, there are no drivers in there. Just the cars. And there are about 6 or 5 cameras all over the cars. My mom, they to take a long time for us to sit in that car. Because I don't know where I might end up. So it's a bit scary. We thought it won't be now. And it's so fast and it's evolving, it's so fast and it's scary and all that. But hopefully we're able to, bridge ourselves and get used to it. There was a time where some students who participated in the national quiz, science students, Yes, you know, there was the theory, you know, the competition is so late, they're able to answer questions, and they are giving the practicals, and it's a bit of a problem. You know, it's a bit of a problem. So advocacy to make sure that our schools have more, you know, practicals at hand, and it's just about the books and the books and the books, but then it gets practical. Let me begin with you again, Esther. Before you've been started doing this, do you even know about technology? And to what extent do you think it will affect your work when you start? And how are you even affected now? These are about 4 or 3 questions in one.
Yeah.
Yes.
I hope I can remember all of them at once. At least you can remind
I'm
me.
here, I'll help you.
By the way, they cheated me, you know.
They
got
cheated
to say
you?
a lot I couldn't get to say.
You have your turn now, so come on, the floor is
But,
yours.
oh, come on. Thank you. Luckily for me, I had a father who was really well exposed. He was an auditor and believed that I should have been a male. And I came a female. So he seemed offended at first. It was funny when I was told the story by my mom. But then he decided he was going to put in everything to give me the male thing that the male he expected and couldn't get would have gotten. So he gave me the best of education that I could ever have. I'm grateful to God for him. And so technology was never new to me. And he bought me my first iPad that time.
You were lucky at the time.
Hey,
That's like
brother.
the big things, oh.
But it came with great responsibility.
Right.
Now, he was the kind who believed in perfection. And if you couldn't, he had a wonderful way of punishing you. And so I had to really sit up. But it was still a tough thing because being an artist, actually my originality is architecture. It's a family, architecture and engineering. So I was supposed to pick any of them. And then I got poached by a lecturer into other areas. So I picked industrial art and green economy. And the man was furious because to him, I should be an architect or an engineer. That is all he felt I could really, where he felt his male son was supposed to fit in. So I should do that. But thank God I had to really prove to him. That time I had to make, however I did it, I thank God. I created a phone line, you could dial it and still fix, in those days, call cards. Call cards. I just don't know how. God just gave me wisdom. So that came from the engineering side. I hadn't studied engineering. It's just inbuilt. So then I had to just go within myself, read the books I could, and just prove to him that this is who I wanted to be. Thank God with my mother's prayers backing me, he said, okay, then I cannot stop you from becoming who you want to be. So you could see that from his own help, he helping me learn computer with the little technology he pushed me in, helped me even know how to research, to build this phone machine that he was new to. Now we had landlines and mobile phone, yes, but the mobile phone was still quite fresh around. And for me to be able to do a landline where you can still slot in a call card, that beat his imagination. And then he felt, okay, then there's something really could come out of it. Now his reaction also helped build my sustainable living vision, because his reaction proved to me that there was something people were really craving for. That could be, as Michael said, solutions. Something you could satisfy. For me, when you're satisfied, I can sleep. I am fulfilled. And so that alone was able to lift me. So wherever you think you are, you know you do not want something, look for where, if you do not want it, then how can it be?
Yes.
How can it be done? There is always the other part of it. You just say you don't want it and let it go. Ghanaians are used to, I don't want it, then they leave it. I don't want it. What do I want? How do I get that thing I want? So that is the whole issue about technology. I was also the kind who loves to play. I would have drifted into application development, but my zeal was more into more of sustainability. So I studied more. I went into the green economy. Right. That is where I saw myself solving more of the problems and working with. I have someone on my panel like that, but then he hasn't gotten there. So we are still learning and improving ourselves.
You get there.
I don't know if I have. Thank you. I don't know if I have finished.
And you have really cheated them as well. Because I'm going to throw the question back to the audience. We're going to have a very quick Q&A where the audience here also will have some time to ask questions for all of us to also answer. But before that, I'm told the dean of the law school here at GIMPA, Dr. Budu, is here. So kindly give us a wave so I can appreciate you, please. Dr. Budu. Right, and so I believe he might have stepped up. But also Mr. Essien, a lecturer from GIMPA Business School, is also here. Kindly give us a wave for a quick thank you for being here. Right, and also we are told Dr. Lawrence Afutu-Korte, lecturer from University of Ghana, Legon, is also here. A quick wave, we're grateful. Thank you so much. Come on, let them see you, please. Thank you so much. We are grateful for you coming here as well. And so as and when we get some dignitaries coming in, we announce it for show them our appreciation. So let me leave this seat and join them there. Since we want to do a quick Q&A, they get to ask questions and you get to answer. I hope these are no mock or WAEC questions. Any questions from the audience? Who has any first question to ask? I was about to point somebody, you say somebody. What's ahead? I would have called you first. Thank you so much. Please mention your name, where you're coming from, your question.
Thank you very much. My name is Amanya Akwafusobing. I'm with the GIMPA Corporate Affairs and Institutional Advancement. My question goes to the technology aspect of law. I'm very much interested in that. I want to check how far progress has been. Has it been successful? And the legal fraternity, have they accepted that we are going green? Because it has been a lot of work being a legal practitioner. Some even don't sleep 24/7 to defend a case in court. And it got to a time they were losing business with the old trend of doing things. And then if you can enlighten us a little bit about cyber crime is coming up in the US and a little in the country. So that's my stake, just to enlighten the law students that there's hope. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I believe Desmond, you will take this. But let me try and get other two questions and I come back to the floor. Who has any other question or contribution? Kindly, great. What's her name? I had somebody mention her name. So kindly mention your name, where you're coming from, then your question or contribution.
Hi, my name is Abba, and I'm a level 300 finance student. My question is to Nana Sase. With the rise of AI, right, when it comes to creative writing, because sometimes the creativity comes from your mind, okay? But with the whole AI, how do you use that to help without taking away the originality of your ideas? Yeah.
So we have two questions from the first gentleman on the left. Hopefully we have one for the ones on the right. Any other question or contribution, please? Who else? There's one there. Thank you so much. And our guest from the University of Ghana has a question. Why do I have a feeling it might be an end of semester exam question?
Yeah, good morning to you all. My name is Dr. Lawrence. I have a question for all the panelists. There's this research work I read a couple of years back, and there's this a British lady who was then working in Denmark, and then she traveled to Zambia, Lusaka, to conduct a research on young people and their aspirations, their dreams, their future prospects. And she went back after 15 years. After 15 years, she traced these young people to interact with them about their dreams, aspirations once again. And what she found was very depressing when I read it. I felt sad. There was some of the young people who said they wanted to become lawyers, and they ended up being drivers' mates. But some turned out to be good. And I was trying to connect this research to the point you made about how dreams evolved, but we are interested in the positive aspects of this involvement. And my question is, how do we sustain dreams, aspirations on the path of right, based on your experiences in life? Thank you.
Okay, so I guess I'll come back. Let's have them answer these 3 questions. But before, let me begin with you, sir. The first question and your answer.
I had to take notes. Okay, so the first one was about the entire legal practice and the role of technology. Let's start with the courts. So we have the e-justice system currently implemented. It's not in the state that you would ordinarily throw a party for, but lawyers are still able to file their cases and track these cases electronically. I remember when I was actively in court, I could get SMS for whether something has been filed on my behalf or whether a party has put in a process. And these were coming from the e-justice system. Again, the imperfection is there. So, for instance, lawyers will still have to draft documents, take them to the courts, and get them scanned at the courts and uploaded onto the e-justice system. And if you know how technology works, that's actually a failure in the design. The system should be such that I can just input the information I have, and it generates the document. I don't need to generate the document and rescan it and put it in the system. If you are developing a system that's going to consume information from people, you should create the room such that it can consume this information and generate whatever report or whatever information it needs out of it. But just so you know that from the court system, the e-justice is there for lawyers to be able to file their cases and track their cases. And the judges also put in their judgments, and they are also able to track whether you file something or not. So it kind of like gives us a relatively easier way to approach things. Unfortunately, this is working only for the high courts because the lower courts are still not digitized. The district courts, the circuit courts, they are not digitized. And that creates a lot of challenge. But from the purposes of making progress, and that's the progress we've been able to make. Our civil procedural rules also have changed, including court judgments that allows us to, for instance, serve an evading party through maybe Facebook or WhatsApp. So the courts have been a bit more forthcoming in granting judgments that allow us to use electronic platforms for what you call substitute services. And then our civil procedural rule has also evolved to include virtual hearings. So during vacations, for instance, there are virtual courts that will allow you to have your matter heard. You don't necessarily need to be in the court premises. You can have virtual hearings. On the side of the practice, which is lawyers, I can't speak much because it has to do with law firm upon law firm, so you really don't know what's happening within the law firms. But for the few that I have dealt with, they are more interested in how they can do, for instance, case management, how they can move clients' engagement online. People are looking for billing systems and time management systems because these are actually the things that goes into practice management. I'm sure maybe one out of the many law firms will be doing things like predictive analysis and decision support system. So generally that's it. Concerning cyber crimes, I think we've made a lot of progress, and I followed that space for a while, so believe me when I say we've made a lot of progress. Police can now actually put up a charge, when crime has been committed, wholly or partly electronically, they can put up a charge. We used to have that very basic deficiency where the crime is committed, but the courts can't do anything, because our criminal jurisprudence requires that if you say someone has committed a crime, it should be specific in law. You can't infer crime, and that was a challenge that we have. So Electronic Transactions Act came along. We have the Cybersecurity Act now. We also have the Data Protection Act, and then there are other laws that actually captures cybercrime as well. The Anti-Money Laundering Act, for instance, also captures crime committed for the purposes of anti-money laundering, crimes that are committed electronically. So that's like a general progress. We've signed international treaties like the Budapest Convention, the Malibu Convention. We've signed that. There's currently the UN Treaty on Cybercrime. It's yet to come into force, and I'm sure Ghana will accede to that. The real problem is very technical. It has to do with capacity building. It has to build, putting up infrastructure to be able to, for instance, do your cyber forensics, chain of custody, be able to put some of these evidence together. So that's the progress so far from where I sit.
Thank you, and hopefully we'll get more done. And as I said, I think there was a question from Abba, rights,
creative writing,
where she's asking, the use of AI in writing.
So that you don't lose the originality.
Yes.
I was just telling Mr. Nim how something interesting happened. I asked Meta AI to tell me about Nanasa, the Ghanaian poet. And I found out a lot of things about myself I don't even
know.
And they sound very, these are things that look very legit. Look, if you read through this, it's so legit. Mm-hmm. So technology has its ups and downsides. I'll typically tell my students when I teach. For the record, I teach creative writing. I teach tree, among other things. I'll tell them, please, your first 50 Google searches, please don't try presenting them. Your first 50 Google searches, if you want to take a shortcut, first 50 Google searches, don't present it, because I read unfinished.
I'm listening to you.
I get unfinished, please. Don't try it. Now, if you want to be original, right? AI is supposed to help you find alternative ways of being creative, being original, being all of these things. If you want to maintain originality, let me introduce you to the pencil principle. A pencil is a thinking tool. It's not a writing tool. The pencil helps you to change your mind and make new ideas. And are you here with me? Try and think in pencil. If we have time, it's a whole presentation. If you have time, think in pencil. Make drafts. Compare notes with AI. Then you can pick ideas. Do you get my point? That way, you are still maintaining your originality. The last time I was here, we were talking about sources of creative ideas in our previous session. Sources of creative ideas. Consume a lot of content. By content, what do I mean? Relevant content. Watch good movies, listen to good music, hang around healthy people, be around people who have command over whichever language you want to express yourself in. It really helps you. That way you're able to maintain originality. Look at what AI will present to you. AI will give you very good grammar. But when you read Chinua Achebe, you realize that Achebe is writing a kind of English that is not even British. Are you here? His kind of English is not even British. When you read Kwame Nkrumah, you realize Nkrumah's English is not even British. Nkrumah's English is highly Ghanaian and highly Nkrumah. Are you here? So to be original, compare notes with AI. Look at what options AI advises. It might help you. I never looked at it this way before. AI might give you those twists. But make sure as much as possible it's written by you. People will pick the entire write-up from AI and then want to substitute some words. And over time, if you present that kind of writing to me, I will know that this is not you. This is too robotic to be true. People have tried translating stuff with AI for me. I do translations. My last translation project was a social media education project. We're translating stuff about Facebook. Educating people about Facebook and all that, translating all these things into Chi. So if you try translating these things with AI, for instance, it wouldn't wash. Do you get my point? It might give you some words, all right, but for context, you'd be lost. I hope you follow me. And what makes books beautiful, what makes scripts interesting, somebody presents something to me. By the fourth line, I'm like, sir, it has no spirit. Will you go and bring it back? I will tell you just as it is. I don't know how to massage it because in my literary training, that is how I was brought up. So these tools help you. The things AI says I have explored, the themes AI says I've explored. Okay, I should go and explore some of the themes. Some of the notable works they say I've written, I should go and all the way up to collections that I'm supposed to have written, and I feel so proud that
Supposed to have written.
yeah, supposed to have written. And of course, I have these things to work on. AI has already given me time to finish. So please, think in pencil. It simply means that you pick from other sources, and then you put your touch to it. So that anybody who reads knows that, what's your name? Abba. So that everybody knows that, it's Abba Nochore, Patroche Tamasi. And Tamasi. Which part don't you get? Oh, and Kamfante. Okay, but I understand. But Entasi. Okay, that's also. Yeah, so please, I think that's how you keep originality. If you read my work, anybody who really knows my writing, beyond performance, I write. Any of my teachers who has seen my writing, if you present anything, Nana says wrote this, tell you there'll be a no. So over time, you realize that when you keep practicing, your voice stands out. Your unique touch is known, such that if the work is not yours, someone can tell it's not yours. Thank you,
There was a third question, but before we take that one on that question, yes, Nana, I want to stick with you, the issue of AI and its creativity and all that. Now, it's becoming scary. Now, songs are now being written and sung by AI. You know, just when, a lot of you might have heard the PDD issue where a lot of names have been mentioned. Now, there's a song going around which features Justin Bieber, almost narrating every single thing that was done to him by PDD. And we are told it's even AI. But then he has his voice, the way he writes a song and every single thing. How scary is it? How bad can AI affect creativity?
Okay. And so I told her that hang around people who have command over the language you choose to express yourself in. Brings me back to probably why I'm seated here, to speak about the preservation of culture. All right? There's no way AI, it might take AI how many more years to speak Chi better than me, or to know Chi better than I do know it. How well do you know your language? How well do you know your mother tongue? And so in the preservation of culture, AI might give you some facts you might need to get on the ground and double check. And so it's high time as a people, we get to know ourselves, get to know who we are, and check promoting literature, literacy, literary arts in our mother tongues. That way, to a very good extent, we can preserve our originality.
Thank you. And it's all back to research and double check and double check.
Yeah.
Let's now have Doc's question answered. Let's begin with you, please.
Since I work in AI in the space, it will be. I need to make a comment on it. Your competition is not with the AI. Your competition is with somebody who can use it better than you. So that's one thing to bear in mind. I do some work with Intel. We're running Intel programs on AI for citizens, AI for youth, AI for future current leaders, AI for strategy, and so on. A suite of programs, and it's kind of interesting the kind of projects that students are coming up with. For instance, how do you use AI to tell the story of Yasantua? How do you gamify the Constitution, for instance, using there are all sorts of projects that students are coming up with. And every year, we're looking to put students into the AI Global Impact Festival. Every year, students from around the world converge, and students are using AI to deal with diabetes and all sorts of agric and so on. So that's another topic we can talk about. But on the subject of that research and so on, sometimes dreams do become nightmares. And how do you pick up from, in my first submission, I talked about resilience. and it's a skill that everybody needs to develop. When I was growing up, one of the jobs I thought will be a land economist. It just sounded nice to me. I mean, later on I found out it was nonsense, but that was something that appealed to me. It just sounded, I ended up in insurance and finance. And now I'm in education. The first school in Kukrantumi was set up by my grandfather with the Catholics. My mother runs a school in Accra with about 300, 400 pupils. I've had educators in my line. So I think somewhere ensconced in my DNA was education or whatever. But this is me faffing about in oil energy, and I've come back to education, and we're doing it in kind of weird and wonderful and interesting ways. So, yes, we've lost a lot of money, millions of dollars. We're in court with some funders, but then when the dream becomes a nightmare, how do you recover? And that is, what's your risk appetite? How do you take on new challenges? How do you move? I mean, lawyers by definition operate within a certain code of ethics and so on. Yes, sometimes they stray. But for the aspiring lawyers to be resilience, and I'm not sure. This morning on one of my reflections, I was thinking about opportunities we've come across that we've actually had to say no to. Why? Because you all know personally, whatever, the political, economic, social, technology, when we view the opportunity in that spectrum, it wasn't going to work for us. Where do we go? Why do we decide to go to a place like Eswatini, for instance, a very small country? Why would we go to Nigeria? I mean, anytime I say I'm working in Nigeria, everybody is like, hey, shine your eyes. So I was like, I mean, the default position is that, but my risk tolerance and appetite is I like frontier environments, and I like to go where eagles. That's a personal, my orientation, mindset, training, and everything has sort of driven me that way. But for one word that you've got to think about is resilience. How resilient are you when the dream becomes a nightmare? How do you pick yourself up? How do you dig deep? How do you move from that place where you've been? I've been diluted from a business from 50% to 2.5%. I just took my money, started a new business, and scaling. So it's really resilience and mindset. That particular Zimbabwe, Zambia experience, I'm not sure what happened, but the kind of all the people we started primary school with, if you check the line, people, either they are dead, they've fallen. I mean, all sorts of things have happened in that. When I went to London, there were mates of mine whose parents bought them apartments. They paid their school fees, 100%. Every single degree or qualification I had to work and study. Some of them fell by the... So, I don't know, time and chance happens to all men.
Exactly. I believe it's about what you do, what you have, and not necessarily relying on some support coming from somewhere. Let me quickly come to you, Doc, if there's any feedback you want to give on that particular question asked.
Yes, thank you very much. You remember I paused on in my presentation that I was going to reserve for later. When you have a dream, in our upbringing, we are exposed to one side of the dream. That is, you have an imagination, you work towards it, and you get it. But then, with my experiences of evolving my dreams, I realized that a dream does not exist in isolation. A dream is influenced by your environment. It's influenced by your personality. It's influenced by the opportunities available to you. It's even influenced by the confidence that you have. And all these things don't come to play at the point where you are dreaming. They come to play along the journey. You begin to evolve yourself. You begin to identify what things fall in place for your dream to be achieved. And for me, the dream goes beyond becoming a lawyer or a doctor or a pilot or something. The dream is about being available to provide relief or solutions for mankind. You might want to do it as a doctor. You might want to do it as a lawyer. You might want to do it as a driver. But the point is, when you achieve your dream, what next? Why do you want to be a doctor? Like he said, land economy was a nice name. So he just wanted to have it for no reason. And so as you grow, as you advance, right from your primary school, secondary school, upwards, you begin to start asking yourself, what do I have to give back to mankind? And in what form can I give it? In that case, you are not limited by the initial imagination of a kind of hat that you imagined to wear. You begin to tap on your God-given skills. Now, we all cut short a lot of things. We didn't say everything here. Yeah. At a point, I was playing football. At a point, I was going into the army.
Oh, you were a footballer?
Yes. I realized I have multiple skills, right? I'm a footballer. I'm a long-distance runner. I play tennis. I play volley. And I could have branched into any of those things. If we come to art, I sing, I play the keyboard, I play the drums, I play the bass, I play the rhythm. All these things were acquired in church things. I could have branched into any of them. And I can branch into any of them. So I would say that as we dream, we need to be guided about the influences that may redirect us or prevent us from reaching where we would reach. Like the lady went back. A lot of them did not achieve what they wanted to achieve because maybe there were no finances, opportunities were not there, there was a disaster, something else. But at the end of the day, your innate desire is to be useful to human beings, is to be helpful to human beings. And so you might branch into different areas. You will realize that your satisfaction comes from the fact that you have made somebody smile based on what you are doing. And so that is what I would say to that research. Those people may not be the doctors and lawyers, but they may be happy doing what they are doing because that's the primary desire, that's the primary focus of every dream that we have. Thank you.
Wow, your delivery was more than the AI delivery. This is human delivery. Yes, Miss Caesar, what do you also have to say about this?
Yes, I love his question. While he spoke, I could just read myself in him. I'm not as old as some of them here, but my life experience has made me understand, yes, trust me, respect elderly. That will really give you long life. It will save you from a lot of troubles. In any case, there are some elderly who have not been through what some youngsters have been through. Methuselah lived so long, yet gave nothing. Someone lived quite young, David, and he conquered nations and established the kingdom of God here on earth, according to the word of God. What I'm trying to say is, like him, I'm actually an entrepreneur. I have lost. I just died. You have set up at the age of 12, I knew what I wanted to be. In fact, I just knew my life. Established what I had to, trained who I had to. And yes, I also coach and train. It's a passion, it's a desire. And I was a footballer too. Okay. It's in the blood, sports. But I didn't want to go into it as a profession. It's like you are versatile. You want to achieve everything. But life clearly thank God my mentor was my dad. My first mentor was my dad. He was a consultant, auditing. And he would tell me, I cannot do everything. Do this. He believed in working in a meek way. He will not be all over the place, quiet, but then he will achieve what he sets his mind to. I had a lot of distractions, but I still had a goal. In everything, it all begins with a purpose, complete purpose. Without purpose, you will lose it. Purpose has kept me alive. Purpose, when I went down, and I was just dying, I said, God, take your thing. Just take it. I don't want it anymore. I knew I couldn't let it go. Purpose was still burning. But I have been called to do this. These people are waiting on me. And the first time I had the vision, by God's grace, to see the number of youth I had failed, my God, I decided I can't sit here. So I had to pray for God to grant me grace to see. The people were there, but I couldn't see because I was blocked with, I thought I had failed, and that shouldn't be. And that was the mistake my father made, making me become that perfect. You have to be perfect. So then when I failed, I thought, I can't rise. I mean, I failed. What else could I possibly do? But I thank God. You see, when you fail at something, I took time. I had to grow to understand that failure is actually a step. The greatest step you can ever have, because you can now learn from every mistake you made. And trust me, when you rise above it, you will do exploits. You will conquer. I'm telling you. I'm speaking from experience. Never. It doesn't matter whether you are a lawyer. In my family, no matter their profession, they have businesses. The spirit is there. You are always drawn to your purpose. It must be fulfilled. Even if you did what your parents didn't want you to do, you will always go back going to fulfill your purpose. Don't stay there. If purpose, with this woman you spoke about, you said she actually was helping them. Practically, she was helping them find purpose. There are so many coaches who make mistakes. Not to say they are not trying, but they are coaching for coaching, I think for the name's sake. Because I can listen to a coach and ask myself, seriously, you shouldn't call yourself that. Because, they have not drawn the people to their purpose. Telling someone find your purpose is not enough. Growing up and studying this system here in Africa, Africans think differently from outsiders. At least I got the chance to learn multiculturally. The thinking here is different. If you say find your purpose, help the person. If you think you are really purposeful enough, you can tell someone to find their purpose, then you can help them find that way. Don't leave them there. If you leave them, they will fall. That's the problem here. It's like broken lines. When you jump them there and you leave them, there's a blockade there. They will fall. Stand there, be that bridge, or help them build it. There is something lacking in the system of nurturing here in Africa. And I feel that is where I also come in a way. Because I'm not just a sustainable development person. I seek out to heal. My artworks are for healing. I do sessions for healing, for anything from children to bankers. They have problems. They want to bring it out. They don't know how to. In the process, we find out that I even end up doing more than I'm paid to do. Because I'm supposed to heal your stress, get you out of yourself. For that's what I do mostly with the children. No matter how disturbed they are, by the time they are done, they're all, and they feel fulfilled, even before they begin the life journey to fulfill their purpose. And so, if a banker comes to you and your own is just to help them release tension, I do not know how God just does it. They end up pouring their heart. And if God sends me, then He'll give me a word. And they are healed. So all these things is not just, you just don't tell the person, do this. And then You have to help them, practically hold their hands, help them build that thing. There were places where I had that problem in certain areas. And I thought, what are you a teacher for? You're supposed to help me get this far. You don't tell me just do it when I have no idea and then leave me. I had to struggle through. But then I thank God that is where God was building me to then come and solve that problem. So it's so fulfilling to know that the people you are helping have a purpose. If she had helped them, well, everyone has a problem. If she knew any better concerning this, by the time she came back, she would have realized that those who were mates, you see, one purpose, one singular purpose. As a doctor, you think all you have to do is go to medical school, do this before you become a doctor. Nah, I don't see it. I see 1,000 different doctor routes to still the same doctor. I am a doctor, but I do not hunger, whatnot. Trust me, I don't know how to even read whatever they call it. But I can read you and heal you within a few minutes. And it's far better than, more effective, I would say, effective than the one who will give you medicines that will still go and give you side effects. Seriously. But I am a doctor. It was when I grew and I realized this is what it takes before I realized, oh, so I'm a doctor. But I don't call myself that. That doesn't mean that if I had passion to be a doctor before, that couldn't have been realized. That could have still been realized. But here, I just didn't know this was where I would have ended up. I would have just thought that was the only route to that place. But well, thank God I didn't want to become a doctor. Such a boring thing.
We'll come to you, Michael. You're not forgotten. But then, listen, how are we speaking about AI this afternoon? And our likes on the Facebook page is not encouraging. Come on, guys. Come on. Let's all go to Facebook, including all of us, please. Let's all pick our phones. Go to the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration -GIMPA on Facebook. Just kindly like and share. Okay, let people just join in the conversation and watch. Please, let's do that. I've actually shared about 3 times to my other pages. Please, we should all do the same. On Facebook, on YouTube, it's everywhere, it's streaming. It's Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration GIMPA. I think I have to go and check people do it. Let me walk through and see. About phone. Abba, you're not doing it. Abba, do it. Thank you so much. Let's all do it and share and invite people to come and watch. Okay. You have another question? I'll come to you quickly. I'll do that. I know it's cold. It has rained and we are all. Can we all stand up? Let's all get up, please. For just about 2 minutes. Let's all stand up. Just about 2 minutes. It's getting cold in here. Also, I'll turn on the AC. You won't be hot and you sweat. So let's all get up. Let's all get up. You remember back in school when they say, hello, how are you? I'm fine, thank you. Then you clap. Please, let's all do this to energize ourselves and get back in the conversation. I beg you. So are you ready? Are you ready? On 2, 3, 1. Hello, how are you? I'm fine, thank you. All right, let's go again. Hello, how are you? I'm fine, thank you. Now sit down. I think after that, Michael, let me come to you quickly. I need your submission on the question that was asked. You get it. A very brief one, probably in less than a minute. And when we are done, I'll take another question from our lady from behind. So Michael is online and will answer that question for us. Michael, we are all ears. Kindly speak.
Sure. So the question was about the dreams and when to know when to divert, like how to know when to divert from
of us wish we had about 26. Make sure you have 24 hours. Make sure you make the very best of it. Prioritize you. When all other things are said and done, prioritize you. In my work, I think a lot. I internalize a lot. I'm listening to my voice. I'm listening to the AC. Someone is clicking their phone, I can hear the sound. I'm picking in surround. Almost everything is feeding in here. At the same time, I need headspace to think of domestic issues, think of my next performance, which is about maybe 2 weeks to go, how it's going to look like, what I'm going to put in, and all of those things. If I don't have ease of mind, I can't do it. And so if you approach me and your first posture is to have an argument with me, I am sorry, sir, I'm not ready for it. Because that time spent in that argument could pay somebody $100. Very good thousands of dollars. So I don't have time for that at that point. So please check the things you feed yourself with, the people you spend time with. Because every moment of your life you spend, every time you spend, the time we spent here is a portion of our lives we will not get back. But I'm sure it's been very worth it. Some years to come, somebody will look back to today and say, wow, I sat in the same room with a man who dared to drive 30,000 kilometers from Ghana to somewhere else in the world. Or I sat in the room with one of Africa's biggest literary evidences to the world, which I aspire to be and I'm still working towards. Or I sat in the room with one of Ghana's finest legal tech brains. And today I am one. And you'd also sit here and share it. But respect time. Time is not passing, we are. Time is standing still. The sun, the moon, the stars, they are witnesses of how men come and go. They are standing still and watching how we utilize their shifts. So please make the very best of time. And I'm glad that I am in this place. It's fantastic use of time interacting. Otherwise, imagine all the things we have put out. These things will still be staying in there. Sensory overload.
Thank you. Yes, okay, come please, Richard.
Thank you. Let me recommend a resource that's helped me for many years. It's called Focus, Achieving Your Highest Priorities. I think it's a CD somewhere you can get in Amazon or something. It's by the Covey, one of Franklin Covey's products. Probably came across it in maybe 24 years ago. And it looks like time, what they call the time matrix. What is important and what is urgent. Okay, what is very important, what is urgent, what is very urgent but important. And a lot of the time, we place emphasis on what is urgent rather than what is important. It's a useful tool that has helped me. And one of the first remarks I made was, okay, I was asked to get here at 9:30. I left my home at 8:45 to get here at 9:30. And when I got here, the auditorium was empty. These are aspiring lawyers. Is it the time? Is this how you're going to behave when you have to go before a judge and present a case? You told me you finish at 1 o'clock. I have a meeting at 2 o'clock. So exactly at 1, my time is up. Thank you.
But such a nice way to say, let's wrap up. Yes. Dr. Wobbe, now a quick one, please, from you. I mean, in responding to the other question that just came in again. Yes. Michael will speak after you, and I'll allow Dr. Caesar, to wrap up. Allow me to add the doctor to it. Yes.
Yes, I think a lot of the points have been raised. So I'll just add that dreaming, again, I would emphasize that the purpose and the meaning of the dream should drive us. A lot of the things we call dreams are just desires. They are just wants or needs. And then a dream to become. You become who you are because you have something to offer. And so there's no limit to which you can dream. But then, take into consideration the environment you are in. Otherwise, I dream to become the American president. it's a valid dream. But then my environment and my circumstances and all the things that go around me, yes, I may, less than 1% of people could get there. But it's like it's a no-go area. And so I wouldn't say let's dream reasonably. I would say let's dream purposefully. Dream that is within the provisions of our environment and opportunities. I like one small boy who said, they asked him, what do you want to be when you grow? He says, I want to be alive.
People like that.
As long as he's alive, he can do any other thing. So I would say that, yes, we can dream. We can dream big. We can dream as much as we can. But then let's factor in the environment, our personalities. We don't know these things. Now, if you know yourself well and you know the environment you are in, you know the responsibilities that are appealing to you, you will dream along a certain line because you want to provide solutions.
Right. Thank you so much. Michael, let me come to you. Please, you have only just 1 minute. Forgive me, I'm being a bit biased. But if you don't wrap up, our panelists will run away. So you have just 1 minute.
Sure.
Please.
I hope you can hear me now. So with regards to the dreaming, I would say, yeah, I was a very radical dreamer. Now I dream less because I think I spend most of my time being a grounded entrepreneur. So, but yeah, I think what I used as a strategy for my earlier dreams, especially I wanted to be an aeronautical engineer, I think what would really help is try and exhaust yourself in the dream, right? Like stretch yourself as best as you can with whatever the environment you are in, as Dr. Ugo mentioned. Whatever it gives you, try and utilize it as much as you can within the dream. And at a certain point, you realize this thing won't really work out. But you would find that you have actually achieved certain milestones. Even though you couldn't really hit like the end points, you've achieved certain milestones that are commendable, right? So I can tell that we've all had those instances. I used to run long distance as well, and I was terrible. The best I could do was coming out 10th in a group of 12, and that told me that I'm not so good at it, but I still do it as a hobby, right? Sometimes even after work, I walk long distances. I've walked over 30 kilometers before, right? And I just do it out of fun. So, and this was because I exhausted myself within the dream of running long distance. So I would advise that we try and exhaust ourselves in the dream, no matter how unachievable it may seem. Yeah, that's what I'll say.
And Esther, you have the last laugh.
Oh, I'm glad. Thank you. Everyone is saying dream. Yes, dream is original. You realize since I started talking, I haven't mentioned dream because automatically the human soul dreams. Since you have a purpose, you dream. The thing is, people dream and forget that there is purpose to that dream. They tend to dream, as Nana said earlier, just dream big. But then because there is no purpose within, no plan for that purpose, they just fall off along the line. Whatever it is, that be your challenge. I would always say, around 3 a.m. I'll give you 3 to 4:30. I would say 3 to 4 specifically. It's a good time to sit. Go within yourself. God is everywhere. When you open your mouth, He will hear you. I tell you, my dear, maybe not that day, but if you really want to find purpose and you are finding it so difficult, you are struggling, just pray for God to give you a sound mind and a calm spirit. Just around that time, pray your prayer, whoever you are, and see, I'm speaking from experience. If God will not help you direct your purpose, and you are human, you may need mentors. Ask God. There are people He gives us to look up to who will really help us. Don't get stuck to one person. Trust me, you'll be disappointed. open your heart, your spirit, and be willing, as Dr. Wilbur said, we have a particular, more like you were saying, we have a purpose, and make sure your aim is to fulfill the will of God, like Iman, whatever people really need. However it is, don't think there's a particular way to reach your purpose. No. People have purpose and also think it's just one way. No. There are so many ways to that purpose. Just make sure that route is right. Don't go and find any dubious means. You will worsen your life. Make sure you have truth, and let the Lord lead you. With all due respect, let God be your lead. You will never regret it. God.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm going to actually have to allow this one, not to give a statement, but rather pray. As a proper way of wrapping up. Then I know I've done a 360 of the entire panel. So please give us our prayer, our closing prayer, that we can quickly wrap up. Thank you so much.
Shall we pray? Father, we thank you for another wonderful time. We thank you for the moment we've shared here. We thank you for wisdom nuggets that came from the panel. We thank you for the patience of the audience. We pray that you give the spirit of discerning on everybody, that as we step out there, we'll be able to actualize this conversation. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. And let me say thank you so much to all of our panelists here this afternoon, from Dr. Esther to Dr. Webo to Richard and Anasase and yourself. We are really grateful for you opening your doors to us, and also to you for calling on me. Please, don't be in a rush to go yet. I know you've closed, but please, you're going to do a bit of picture taking. Then we all move to the Moods auditorium just opposite this place for some quick refreshments. Please, and thank you so much for coming. I am Bright Nana Kwesi, and probably we'll do this some other time. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Bright. You are just great. You are just wonderful. I hope we can continue from here. Yeah.
Dog.
Sure. Definitely. He definitely. Definitely. Oh my dear.